Data stream initiated. This is Darkweb Reports. Content warning. The following report contains graphic descriptions of extreme violence. Enjoy the video. The Amazon River Anaconda attack. The jungle has a deceptive tranquility. It breathes a wet, humming breath of cicadas and unseen insects, a perpetual thrum that lulls you into believing you understand it. My name is Dr. Alistair Finch, and for 2 decades I studied the subtle dances of life in the Amazon. But what I saw on the Rio Negro was not life. It was a force of nature so primordial, so monstrous, it defied every law of biology I ever learned. We were 3, paddling a long, narrow dugout canoe. It was just after dawn, the mist still clinging to the water's surface like a tattered shroud. My guides, 2 brothers named Carlos and Rafael, navigated the winding channels with the quiet, practiced ease of men who were as much a part of the forest as the trees themselves. I was taking notes on a group of howler monkeys, their morning calls echoing through the canopy when the river seemed to drop out from under us. There was no warning, no ripple, no disturbance, just a sudden, cataclysmic lift, as if a submarine had surfaced directly beneath our vessel. Carlos, who was in the back, shouted something in a dialect I didn't understand, a sound more of raw shock than of fear. The canoe, a solid vessel that had carried us for weeks, was a toy in whatever's grasp. It flipped in a single violent motion, sending me, my gear and the 2 brothers into the black water. I went under, the cool, murky water filling my senses. I scrambled to the surface, gasping, disoriented, my chest heaving. That's when I heard the sound that still, to this day, claws its way into my nightmares. It was not a scream. A scream is a sound of fear. This was a sound of absolute, unholy demolition. It was the sound of a living thing being crushed and torn apart. It was Raphael's voice, but it was being stretched, distorted, and silenced in a way that spoke of bone shattering and flesh pulping. It was a sound that had no place on this earth. I scrambled to a submerged log, my heart hammering against my ribs, and clung to it, shaking. The water was churning violently around me, though I could see nothing. The canoe, now upside down, bobbed like a cork. My eyes darted wildly, trying to find a source, trying to make sense of the horror. And then it broke the surface. It was impossible, a myth. It was the thickness of a mature tree trunk, a deep, oily green black that seemed to swallow the light. Its scales were as big as my hand. It coiled around what was left of the canoe, not with a serpentine grace, but with the brutal, unhurried power of a bulldozer. The section of its body I could see was at least 40 feet long. I didn't see its head, but I saw the rest of it. It was impossibly, unthinkably massive. Its length was a terrifying question mark, but its girth, a horrifying 4 feet in diameter, was a statement of undeniable, crushing power. Raphael was gone. I saw a crimson stain bloom on the water's surface, and then nothing. Carlos was still screaming, but the sound was muffled, gurgling, and then it too was gone. There was a sickening crack, and the canoe was wrenched apart, splintered into driftwood, and a section of the massive snake's body, thick as a telephone pole, disappeared back under the dark water. The silence that followed was more terrible than the sounds had been. I hung there for what felt like an eternity, the water cold against my skin, my body rigid with terror. I did not move, I did not breathe. I was simply a piece of flotsam, a speck of dust in the presence of a titan. And then I heard the sound of another motor, a lifeline. The second boat in our expedition, a few miles downriver, had heard the commotion. They saw the wreckage, the torn canoe, and my pale, trembling face clinging to a log. They pulled me aboard, their faces a mixture of confusion and horror as they saw the fear in my eyes. They asked me what happened. I could only shake my head, my throat a dry, hollow ache. How do you describe a thing that shouldn't exist? How do you explain that what you saw was not an animal, but an apex predator on a scale that turns all of humanity's knowledge into a joke? I survived to tell the tale, but the jungle's tranquility is a lie I can no longer believe. It is a terrifying silence, broken only by the memory of 2 screams and a churning in the water so vast, so powerful, it could only be the passing of a god of death. This transmission has now concluded. If you seek to uncover more hidden truths, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.